You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Miss V Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters. CanadianTarot.com, your uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community and forum, and The Pepper Master, hot pepper sauces made from fresh farm ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind.
Well, hello. Good day and good morning, Kit. Good morning, Kit Elaine. Good morning, Kit Hugh. So lovely to see you. Good morning, Kit Linda M. And I'm not sure if this is a new name, Miss Sriracha, but if so...
She's been with us for a bit.
She's been with us for a bit, yes. I wasn't sure on that one. But just woke up. Good morning, all. Glad that you joined us. Good morning, Kit Saucy, Kit Leanne, Kit Elaine. I believe I said that already. Welcome. So lovely to see you today. Season 3 and episode number 55 of the Daily Beaver here on the Crier Media Network. Today, recording day is Friday, February 10th, 2023. And, well, it looks like we have definitely passed the darkness hump because this is the first time I remember looking at my window around this time and not being pitch black.
Yeah, it's,
I
well,
can see a little hue of light.
it's overcast, heavily overcast here in the
Yes.
nation's capital. So
Yeah, here too.
there is light. There is light. It's just gray.
Yeah. So we're going uphill, kids. We're going uphill. And it looks like it will be a cloudy day with a touch of rain now and then and cooling back down from the 6 Celsius we hit overnight here at the Beaver Lodge. 6 in February. Overnight. This is not good. It's not good. I'm your host, the Eager Beaver, pronouns he, him, hey, Mr. Beaver, eh? And with me always is my good friend, my pal, my confidant, my ride or die, Mr. Grizzly. And we will be saying hello to him. Of course, a big thank you goes to our podcast's founding sponsors, the Pepper Master, the Miss V Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, and CanadianTarot.com. I think we have a longer show for you today, kiddies. Is that right, Mr. Grizzly?
Oh, yeah.
We got a little time with you this morning, so settle in and make yourselves comfortable. We're going to be here a while. But first, hello, Mr. Grizzly. How's your mental health today?
Hello, Mr. Beaver. My mental health is gloriously good today.
Oh,
gloriously good.
That makes me so happy.
Physical health is a little bit. The back's troublesome today.
Mm.
And you might be able to hear in my voice that I obviously didn't get a whole lot of sleeps because I'm extra grizzly gravelly this morning. So that's just sometimes how it goes, you know. But the mental health state couldn't. I don't know if it could be. If I was any better, I'd be a twin.
All right, there you go.
If that makes any sense.
Yep. I say it often. Yes, indeed, it is. It's hat day. It's toque day.
Tukes. And here's the thing: we didn't even coordinate this.
No, we didn't.
I had mine on. he came on in the green room, and I'm like, he's wearing a toque too. It's the Gordon Doug show, eh? That's our alter egos, Gordon Doug, eh?
Gordon Dougie. Except you get to be Doug this time, eh?
Okay, eh? You'll be Gord? 'Cause Gord is my middle name.
Yeah, I know. But it's like, hey, wait a minute. Why am I always Doug?
Well, because Douglas, I think it's an easy transition for an alter ego, right? It's an alter ego.
Yes, it was a last minute fashion decision. Actually, I had to put on the green sort of Fidel Castro ball cap that I had yesterday. I'm surprised nobody made a Fidel joke.
Actually, nobody made a Fidel joke, but Dean did notice it because Dean, I was on Dean's show yesterday. He invited me on, and sorry, I just had a bit of a haywire there with my phone. And he said, "Yeah, Douglas was wearing a cap yesterday. Like, what's that all about?" I'm like, I don't know, just changing it up, you know.
But listen, I try not to wear the same shirt 2 days in a row. I leave the bling here for you to see.
You turn your underwear inside out. That's how you keep them clean, right?
Right? Like this. Sometimes I have my hair up. Sometimes I have my hair down. I mean, the subjects demand fashion.
Yes, indeed. Except I can't turn my underwear inside out. I can't do the underwear thing because they're pouch underwear. So turning it inside out, the pouch is on the outside. It just doesn't fly. So, you know.
And then the compression.
Yeah, we don't want that. That's what swim trunks are for. You wear compression swim trunks to keep you hydrodynamic.
Trust me, they work. I was on a competitive swim team for 5 years after I busted my knee, and there was this guy. He was so cute. So cute. And when he put on his bathing suit, he looked like Ken. Everything was crushed down. But after the meet was over, or after practice was over, and we were in the shower and that suit came off, I was like, damn.
They compress, right? And they're designed to do that because the idea behind the compression is it makes you hydrodynamic.
Let's just say that, okay, I see where the $70 for that suit went.
Look, here's the thing. They're great for swimming. They're comfortable for swimming. Yeah. And I'll wear it on the beach as a gag. But after about 2-3 hours, it's like, get me out of these damn things. Get me out of them. Yeah.
It hurts.
They serve a purpose, right? I want to find a Speedo from the 70s that was non-compression.
Mm-hmm.
I used to have, I can't find it. I think I threw it out years ago, but I'd like to get a 70s Speedo that was non-compression fit so that it's a lot, they're comfortable. You can wear those for hours.
But now you know why those swimmers that do the 1,500 meters get it done in about 13 minutes.
Yeah, because they want to get out of those things as quickly as possible.
That's the reason.
Like they're not, for long periods of time, they're not comfortable. I wear it as a joke because I think it's hilarious. But what is going on here? My phone decided that it should type everything that we were saying.
There you go.
That's not good. I probably sent a massive text message on everything we just said to somebody somewhere.
Kid Lender says, same reason we throw the bra off as soon as we get home. I hear you, sister. Let's just say my boulders weren't over the shoulder, but I was very, very happy to get them released. Oh, no. When I was swimming, that whole aerodynamic thing, too, like the people shaving, and it's like...
Oh, yeah.
Have you seen
It legitimately does work, but the problem is you have to spend hours shaving. And I'm the same way. I'm
right. Okay, you know, I'm a hairy beast. All right, I'm definitely hairy beast, and I wasn't fast enough to make the shaving work.
I think you can make it out here that I've got a little bit of body hair, right?
Yeah, that's why I was a distance swimmer. I wasn't fast enough to make it worth spending the time shaving the hair. For the 0.5 seconds I'd save on a 1,500 meter distance, it wasn't worth
it. But it does save you that 0.5 seconds, and it can make a difference in a sprint, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But I mean, I didn't trust me, there was more drag coming from me dragging my leg behind me than there ever was from my hairs.
Well, it's still, astonishing when you remember Mark Spitz in the 72 Olympics, who won all the gold medals and set all the world records, had that giant mustache, which nobody had. He says, no, it helps me breathe better when I'm doing breaststroke. And he was just bullshitting people. He was just an incredible athlete. So all the other competitors started growing mustaches. So you had all these swimmers with mustaches for about 3 or 4 years in the 70s when they realized he was pulling our leg. Damn it.
Why is everybody in a swimsuit here to fix my photocopier? Anyway, moving on.
Shall we get to some funnies? I got a funny
Leanne,
for
I'm
you
right
right
with you.
away.
70 Speedo and 70 porno stash together. Super hot.
Well, when the beard removal takes place in May or June, I'm going to do it over a course of a few days. And it's going to be a different style each day for a full week. And then one of my colleagues says, you got to keep the mustache for a full week. I'm like, okay, I'll take the beard off. I'll wear the mustache for a full week. I'll go full 70s. So that's coming in the spring sometime. You'll get to see it right here first, I guarantee you.
We might be able to raise some money off that.
That's not a bad idea.
Because I do that with my hair when I have to cut my hair off. I said the right to cut off the ponytail or whatnot.
Okay, let's do that. We'll create a fundraiser. I'll shave the beard in different styles each day for a week, and then I'll keep the mustache for a full week and be embarrassed as I go everywhere and look at myself in the mirror and go, "Oh Jesus, who the hell is that guy?"
See, I'm one of the probably 2% of the people on the entire planet who just love Movember. It's like, oh, bring it on, baby. Show me that stash. I like it.
You have a style, obviously. You have a style. So
it's the years before 5. I was 5 in 1978, so things kind of influence you there.
Yeah, I was 10.
I have daddy issues. Anyway.
I got a cute one for you to start the day. It's there's a sale on pagans, apparently. Last week's classified ad advertising a new crop of pagans in the shell or shelled halves would have been pecans. We are unaware of the availability of a new crop of pagans for sale. So I thought that was pretty funny.
I love pagans, caramels too. I love chocolate, yes I do. That's why I love turtles with 50% more pagans. Turtles, rock, rock.
Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one. I snorted. Here's another cute one. This is so before I put this up, this looks as about official as it can get. It is a real bronze plaque. It's fully legitimate in that sense. It is not plastic. It is real. It's bronze, and it's been erected at Billings Bridge here in Ottawa to commemorate the Battle of Billings Bridge. And here's a photo of it. And
that looks official.
Yeah, but it's not done by the city. It was done by an individual. And the city's like, well, we're going to have to take that down. It was put up with PL paste, and you can sort of see at the top there.
Okay.
There's a little PL paste. Yeah. And it's not lined up perfectly. So, but it's not been bolted on. But the city's going to have to take it down, right? Except the groundswell of support to make it permanent is massive. Now, if you can't read that, I'll read it out to the kids, and especially for people listening in. It says, the Battle of Billings Bridge. At this spot on February 13th, 2022, everyday citizens and Ram Ranch resistant members peacefully stood in the way of those who had trampled citizens' right to peace, free movement, and free expression. This plaque commemorates the ordinary people who did something extraordinary when their leaders would not. Erected February 2023. I would like to see that permanently installed there because it was a watershed moment in Canadian history, believe it or not, when everyday average, for the most part, middle-class, white, humble Ottawans, and I say white because that's largely who was there, normally the people who sit on their duffs and don't do anything, right, got up off their duff and did something. Now, it was a diverse crowd, but I'm saying for, the sort of stereotypical view of the city of Ottawa, where everybody works for the federal government, they're all these white middle-class elitists. No. Ottawa-Gatineau has a population of 1.5 million, 134,000 people work in the federal government. Yes, it's a large employer, but that's like 7% of the population. The rest of us are private sector. So you got to get over that stereotype of Ottawa never does anything, because there's a perfect example of when we did. Right. We did it as a city. And I wanted to go, and I had friends say, like, are you going to go? Are you going to go? And I go, well, no. My mother asked me not to because she knows my fiery temper. I would have stepped out of line. I would have. I know I would have. And I had talked to a buddy who was there on the scene at the time, and I said, I think it's a good idea for me to stay home today. He goes,
Yeah.
why? And I explained that to him, and he goes, yeah, you know what? That's probably for the best, Paul. He
You
says,
don't
well,
want to step on the message for everyone.
and that was it. And I didn't want to be the center of attention because it was not about me. It was about ordinary, average citizens standing up for their rights and fighting back against a tyrannical horde of ignorance.
Mm-hmm. Now,
So
when
I
you
stayed away.
say, now when you say the sign must come down, because I mean I see that and I just like, oh, we'll file under civic improvements.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
so that sign is going to come down long enough for the city to put an official one in and bolt it up.
One
Right.
would hope. One would hope. Or
One
maybe
would
they'll
hope.
just straighten that one out and bolt it into place.
Yep.
Because even though it's not done by the city, whoever did it spent some money on it because it is a real bronze plaque.
There you go. Someone took some initiative.
And take a look at it. It's got the city of Ottawa where it says Ottawa at the top right hand. That's the official symbol for the city of Ottawa. I mean, this
It
is
is
as
indeed.
legit looking. It's en français et anglais.
Mm-hmm.
Bataille du Pont Billings. I mean, it's as legitimate looking as it could be, but it was made by a private citizen.
I just love seeing the words Ram Ranch emblazed in gold.
When I read that, I'm like, well, somebody posted it. And when I read it, I went, oh, that's definitely not put up by the city, but holy crap, does it ever look good? And at first, a lot of people thought, oh, that's just a Photoshop. Nope. CTV News went down and reported on it. It's legitimate. It's there. I know exactly where it is, too. And I might venture down and take a little selfie with it if it's still up later today. Well, hopefully it will be. We'll see. We'll see.
Oh, yeah. Kit Leanne's kids were at the computer for a bit watching some stuff and saying, huh? Hello, kids. How are you? Lovely to see you. And we have some comments from the kids already. It's like, if you shave, you can't stop. Yes, that is true.
Okay, so wait a second. Hang on. Sorry. Here, I'm just popping this up. Leanne
yes. Yeah.
is a hairstylist. So, Leanne, do you want to come and shave the beard? We could do it live. We'll do a live stream. You'd have to come to Ottawa, though. That's the thing. If you come to Ottawa, we'll do the live stream. We'll do a fundraiser thing. We could figure something out.
Then Kit Saucy says, I see Cheech Marin in Mr. Beaver.
Oh, yeah. You do got the Cheech thing going on today.
Got a little bit of Cheech.
Cheech always wore a red toque.
That's true. Yes. Yes.
And
says,
it's a toque.
Lie. Yes. Won't lie. I will be sad when the beard goes.
Well,
yeah. And then I believe Kit Hughes said he would be sad when the mane goes.
Yes. If you shave your head.
For me.
Yeah. Are you going to cut your hair all off or what?
You know what? I've been saying for the last 2 years that I need some type of makeover, but of the 4 elements, wind is my element. And then the spring comes and then I'm on my bike and I have wind on my hair. Well, yeah, I do wear a helmet, but every now and then, just the concept of wind in my hair, and I'm playing tennis and I'm running on the court and I got wind in my hair. And then the winter comes along and I'm thinking, maybe I should clean this up. And then I think, well, it keeps my head warm. And then the spring comes along again, and then there's wind in my hair. So I haven't actually done it over the last 2 years. But potentially, if the play selections for the local theater company here for next season are approved, one of the selections would be A Few Good Men. And I would really like to be
military.
in it. And if I'm going to be in it, then the hair does have to go.
No, we could do a fundraiser off that if you make the play. So,
yep.
There we go. There we go.
Yep. Fundraising, getting my hair cut and then donating the hair so it could be used for wigs or something.
I don't think you can donate beard hair.
No, not beard hair. Well, that's only for fake Americans.
Yeah. Well, look, this gets shampooed, conditioned, blow dried, and I have. It's not a flat iron. It's a hot comb for beard. I do it every morning. I have to because. Oh, and beard oil and then wax. It's like. Man, when I had a full head of hair and I was always in style, I didn't spend nearly as much time on it as I do with this. Beards, as a beard gets longer, it's a lot more work.
It is definitely a lot
holy
more.
Crap.
Yeah. All right. Anything news-wise you got for us, Mr. Grizzly, to start us off?
Well, it's, so you know how PP went on his ramble about the CBC and how he feels they're hitting on it.
About it last show.
Yeah. So yesterday he he tweeted this: "The overpaid CBC president has launched a full partisan campaign against me. Canadians cannot trust anything her CBC says about me because it is motivated by her partisan campaign against conservatives."
Okay,
Cold
first of all, tell
steam.
me.
To
Yeah,
the
go ahead.
delighted conservatives, CBC's president badmouths Polliver. My response was, "You are by far, without question, unequivocally, undeniably, the biggest snowflake in Canada. How could anyone possibly think you could lead this country when you can't handle a simple truth?"
I just don't understand how it's an attack to
She
say
stated a true fact.
that there's a campaign of CBC bashing, and there has been for the longest time. I mean,
Mhm.
it's been going on for at least a decade, if not more, that I know
Oh,
of,
yeah.
right? Campaign to bash the CBC, and it's led primarily by the leader of the opposition. I mean, in the last 15 years, how many times have you seen somebody from the NDP run up and say defund the CBC or the Bloc Québécois or
hmm
the Green Party? Right? It's a CBC thing. It's a
hmm
CBC thing. And the reason why they're upset is that the CBC provides service to everyone.
Everyone.
They're a media that talks about everyone, and the Conservatives, as judged by our media landscape, if you look at everything that Post Media owns and what those US
hmm
vulture companies own,
Chatham
right?
Asset Management with National, not National Post, but Post Media.
Yeah. Um, they're not happy unless media is serving only them.
That's right.
That's why they're upset, because the CBC doesn't serve only them.
Serves every Canadian.
Right.
Period.
And I understand that there's a lot of people that don't like the CBC and they say that it's a waste of money.
I disagree.
Right. I personally disagree because, I mean, we don't go out and investigate the news. We curate news. If it wasn't
That's
for the
right.
CBC, we probably wouldn't have much of a show.
Well, then
Number
well,
one,
you're just a mainstream media talking. Oh, for Christ's sake. Give me a
right?
frickin'
It's a
break.
public broadcaster. It has a service, right? It has a national mandate. It has to do certain things with
That's
regard
right.
to cultural programming, with regard to news, with regard to information. You know, we might be in a country very soon where there are no local newspapers, printed
hmm
newspapers, and the closest thing to local news that we're going to have is your local CBC.
Well, and you do need to remember, too, that a majority of the board, the executive board of the CBC, was appointed by Stephen Harper.
Is that still the case? I know at one point
Yes, they're
it was
still
like
there.
almost the entire, they're still there.
Yeah. So, come on. Come on.
Right.
Their mandate is to report the news. You don't like it? Too frickin' bad.
And if you're unhappy with your coverage, odds
Maybe
are it's because you are doing things, right?
people don't care for.
If the coverage is unflattering, maybe you should do things that would get you flattering coverage.
Maybe be a better human being.
The coverage isn't unflattering just because.
No, exactly.
It's
Exactly.
Like they don't invent the images they film. They don't put a gun to your head when you're saying those things that they film you saying and then show us. It's
This
like,
is he gets one of those. He gets one of these, right? For that, you know. I mean, come
yeah,
on.
yep. He gets one
He
of
gets
those.
one of those.
He gets one of those. Absolutely.
STFU from the lovely woman in the polka dot red dress with white polka dots. He gets one of those.
Man, I tell you. All right. News-wise, we basically just have a little bit of a potpourri for you today, kids.
Oh,
We're just going to
your
go through
potpourri tastes terrible.
Yes.
Do you remember that episode of Cheers? There was an episode of Cheers where Sam was somewhere and he starts eating the potpourri and they're like, "Sam, that's potpourri." He goes, "Yeah, and it tastes like crap." Thought it was a snack. Your potpourri. When he leaves in a huff and he's like, "And your potpourri tastes like crap."
Oh, man.
Sorry,
Jeez.
old school pop culture reference.
All right. We have a little bit of, let's start with a little bit of Canadians who make us proud news.
Please.
Rather than ending. We have last week at the PGA Tour, the AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am, Taylor Pendrith, Canadian golfer, finished 7th, 12 under par for the event. Nick Taylor finished 20th. At the Corn Ferry Tour at the Panama Championship, Will Bateman, who we talked about just a few weeks ago, having taken a top 10, took another one, finishing 4th at that tournament.
Mm-hmm.
And tennis at a challenger event in Koblenz, Germany, Vasek Pospisil, who we love because he's probably one of the nicest, kindest, most earnest Canadians you can ever meet. He's literally, when you think good Canadian boy, it's this guy. And he's basically Captain Canada now for our Davis Cup team. He's even been caught every now and then on the side of a Grand Slams chugging directly from like a little bottle of maple syrup to get a little sugar boost.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah. He's definitely a good guy. And he made the finals of that tournament, losing to a higher ranked player from Russia named Safiullin. But that brings him back into the top 100 of the world. So hopefully he will have a good year this year. At the World Alpine Skiing Championships are going on at the moment. And in the combined, Marie-Michelle Gagnon took a 10th place, and Val Grenier, who we've talked about a few times, took a 14th. So that is absolutely wonderful. And there have been good results pretty much all the way through. And we can talk about those. I'm sorry, I just lost my screen.
That happens sometimes.
For a second here. So I'm just delaying a little bit, but here we
That's
go.
all good. That's fine.
Yes.
We'll survive.
Yes. And then in other events, in the Super G for women, Marie-Michelle Gagnon took a 26th in an event that very few people, let's just say there's a lot of do not finishes there. So it must have been quite of an interesting race. In the men's combined, we had 5 skiers and none of them finished. So that was a rough day was a rough day as well. But the very, 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 very big news is that man that we've been talking about, Jack or James Crawford, depending on how formal he's feeling on the day. By 1/100th of a second, he won the Super G.
Wow.
The world champion Super G skier this year is a Canadian.
That's very cool.
Yeah. He actually had done it before our show yesterday, but I only had checked the sports. It's like, oh damn, we had news. I missed it. So yeah, 1 year from the day, he captured an improbable Olympic bronze medal. Almost exactly 1 year to the day, Jack Crawford won the gold in the men's Super G at the Alpine World Championships in France.
That's pretty badass.
Years old.
The Super G's it's a tighten your sphincter race.
Right.
Like
right.
it's not for the faint of heart.
No, just watching it on TV is like, I'm like, if I happen to have a chair with hands with armrests, like this, I'm gripping them and I got white knuckles at the end. It's like,
you see them, they're hitting 120 kilometers an hour. They're taking air that's like, oh my God. And they're so graceful when they hit the air. But you see some of the tight turns and the way the skis chatter around those turns. And they try to avoid the chatter because you lose hundredths of a second, and that can be the difference between first place and last place, right?
Right.
It is badass. The Super G is a badass race.
Yeah. So these Crawford is 25 from Toronto. He had never reached a podium on the World Championships and never won on the World Cup Tour, but he has 2 medals on the tour and 1 Olympic medal. But according to the CBC, he, quote, put down a fearless run on a fast course to clip reigning World Cup Super G champion Alexander Amat Kilde of Norway by 1/100th of a second. Kilde was a double medalist at last year's Olympics and currently ranks 2nd in the World Cup Super G and overall standings. Crawford also defeated Switzerland's Marco Odermatt, the reigning World Cup overall champ who is dominating again this season. Odermatt has reached the podium in all 6 World Cup Super G races, including 4 wins, but he finished 4th today despite the course being set up by a Swiss coach to play to his strengths. Honestly, I'm in disbelief, said Crawford. Winning a race in general has been a dream of mine since I was young. For it to come in a World Championships is amazing. I guess so.
Yeah.
Yeah, Kit Linda, I am. Damn, Canadian skiers are on fire this year. They definitely are.
Yeah.
Crawford is earning a reputation for rising to the occasion at the biggest events. He arrived at the Beijing Winter Olympics last February without a single top-level medal to his name and promptly almost stole downhill bronze, placing fourth by an agonizing 0.7 of a second. Undaunted, Crawford rebounded to take bronze in the combined on the 9th. So he almost got out of the Olympics with 2 medals. Since then, he's captured his first 3 medals on the World Cup circuit, first grabbing a silver in a Super G last March before adding a downhill silver and bronze this season. He currently ranks 6th in the downhill standings and 12th in the chase for the overall Crystal Globe, emblematic of the top all-around skier on tour. Crawford's gold is just the 4th by a Canadian man in the history of the Alpine World Championships, which started in 1931, and the first since Eric Gay won the band's Super G 6 years ago. Canadian women have captured 11 world titles, but none since Mélanie Turgeon's downhill win 20 years ago.
Wow.
20. So yeah, that's absolutely really amazing. Just out of the blue. Well, I mean, out of the blue, not out of the blue, because we said it this year. It seemed that we had a bona fide star when he picked up that first medal, because that was just he won that medal. He won that bronze at the Olympics, and then won his first medal on the World Cup, and then won 2 early this season. I mean, that bronze at the Olympics did something for this man.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I mean, often it's confidence, right?
Well, and sometimes all you need is that little shot in the arm. You get that little boost, and away you go.
Right.
And then it's easier to believe in yourself when you see that you actually can do it.
Yep. If you do it once, there's no reason for which you can't do it again.
Exactly.
Right.
You keep talking. I got to grab another coffee. I'll be right back.
Okay. And there's the other result I was looking for in the men's Super G at the World, which is the same event that we're talking about. While Crawford finished first, Brody Seeger finished 9th. So 2 top 10s. Jeffrey Reed finished 11th. Brody Seeger finished tied for 9th. Jeffrey Reed finished 11th in that race. So we have 3 Canadians in the top 11. That's absolutely just crazy good. And in other news, I believe the World Championships in biathlon are also going on. And in the mixed relay, Team Canada finished in 8th place there. So top 10 in the world for Team Canada in biathlon, which is another absolutely fantastic result. So there you go. Lots of which to be proud with regard to our Canadian athletes who always do us proud when they compete. We have some of the best ambassadors. And Michael Kingsbury, who is basically the world's best at moguls. And somebody had done some research looking at in sports, like the people that were most dominant, like Nadal and Djokovic and Federer, and how many times, what's their win percentage for championships. And of all athletes, all sports combined that they were able to find, it was Michael Kingsbury who has converted the most wins. So he seems to be not only the most dominant in his sport, but if you were looking across sports in general, he's the most dominant athlete in their sport.
Nice.
Across sports. Yeah. So he won. He had a pair of podium performances, a silver medal in moguls on Thursday night in Deer Valley. And that one secured him the Crystal Globe in that event for the 2nd straight season. So the season isn't even over. He's already won so much that he secured the Crystal Globe. And then he followed that up. Yeah, and then he followed that up on Saturday night with a victory in dual moguls, and it's his 78th career World Cup win. He's won 78.
That's crazy.
Events in his career.
That's
so
crazy.
And he did that at home. Not in Deer Valley, certainly not at home. So there we go. That's the thing I wanted to show you. There's that list. Hold on. Add to your stream present. Why is it not showing now? That's very weird.
I don't know.
There it goes. Okay. Yep. Just every now and then it throws in an advertisement.
Oh, okay.
There, you put that up there, Mr. Grizzly. So there you go. If you're looking at that, I wonder if I can blow that up a little.
Should be able to.
There we go. Should be better. So Jack Nicklaus in golf, 73 titles and 598 events for a win percentage of 12.3. Tiger Woods, 82 titles and 371 events for a win percentage of 22.1. Serena Williams, 73 titles and 240 events for a win percentage of 30.4. Novak Djokovic, 93 titles and 281 events for 33.1. Michaela Shiffrin, a skier, 84 wins and 239 starts for a win rate of 35.1. Mikhail Kingsbury, 77 titles, that's before he got his 78th, and 130 starts for a win rate of 59.2%.
Well, so you remember when Alexandre Bilodeau won the gold medal? He was the very first Canadian to ever win a gold medal in the Olympics on Canadian soil.
Right.
And then he did it 4 years later. And Mikhail Kingsbury, I think, came in second or third in that race.
He did, yes, second.
And there you go, second. And Alex Bilodeau at the time said, keep your eye on this man. This young man is going to take my crown. He is going to win everything over the next few years. And Monsieur Bilodeau was dead on the money, man. He was dead on the money because look at his win percentage, 59.2. That's crazy.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's dominant.
And how many events? Was it 180 events? 130 events.
130 events.
78. He's won 78 of them.
Like out of 131, let's say that in that point. Yeah.
That is spectacular. And he's got a few years left in him. Now, mogul skiers tend to have relatively short careers.
It's a little hard on the knees.
Yeah, it is. And even though the way they do it, it's, they're not getting full impact because the process and the training and everything they do today, it can, keep their careers much longer. It's still, bones, knees, back. Like you look at them, they keep their body doesn't move. Everything is in the knees, right?
Yeah. Yep.
And they get more points for that.
Up, everything's stable.
Yeah. So they get more points for that. So you got to figure that the stress on your back, your knees, your legs, ankles, all of it, it does add up over time, even though, the courses are much better today than they were back in the 80s and early 90s. They're vastly superior courses. There is still a limit one can do that for. It's not like a 25-year career. If you get 20 years, you're a miracle man or woman.
Right.
Because it's really hard on the body. So the dedication it takes to be able to ski like that, I mean, I avoid moguls altogether these days because my knees I'm a goaltender in hockey and soccer. And I ski as much as I possibly can. I avoid moguls at all costs today because I don't enjoy it, and it's too. And if I do one mogul run, my day's done.
Yep.
Because the knees hurt too much, and I can't do anything more. So what's the point? So I just avoid them.
Yep. In other news, an aerialist, that's that one where they start up really high up and then ski, and then there's this big ramp they go, and then they do all these twists and turns in the air and then land.
And land on like a 60-degree pitch or something like
that. Something ridiculous. It's like, nope, I'm not doing that. It's like, more power to you, but nope. I like to live. Marion Thénault took a silver in that event at Deer Valley, along there too. In freestyle skiing and snowboard, Rachel Carker clinched her first career Crystal Globe in women's ski halfpipe with a bronze at Mammoth Mountain.
Awesome.
Her 12th straight podium in World Cup competition, a streak that dates back to 2019. So basically, if she's in the competition, she's getting there. Sitting behind her in second place in the overall halfpipe standings is Amy Fraser, who placed fourth at the event. Dylan Glennie also made it to the final, finishing in sixth place. In the men's ski halfpipe, Brendan McKay grabbed a silver medal, missing out on victory by 1 point only.
Oh, wow.
Yes. 3 Canadian men finished in the top 8 at the men's ski slopestyle final. Poor McLennan was 5th, 1 spot ahead of Max Moffat, and Mark Hendrickson came in 8th. Megan Oldham was the only Canadian to advance to the women's ski slopestyle final, placing 8th. In short track speed skating, we had a 3-medal weekend in Dresden, with Courtney Sarot getting a bronze in the 1500 meter for her 3rd medal of the season in that distance. Kim Boutin finished 4th in that final. And on Sunday, together with Ricky Doak and Renee-Marie Stange, they won silver in the 3,000-meter relay. And Félix Roussel took a bronze in the men's 1,000 meters for his first individual World Cup medal in just his 5th competition, because he made his debut this year in the fall. And he came very close to another podium in the 5,000 relay, but they had a fall in the exchange with just 5 laps to go. So the medal just kind of got out of their hands. In ski jumping, Abigail Strait got her first World Cup medal a couple of weeks ago. So that's very good there. And she almost got a second one. She ended up finishing 4th at the following event. And Alexandria Lutit, who we mentioned had won gold not too long ago, a few weeks ago, she I was at the Junior World Championships, and she won another gold medal there by 15 points, improving on the bronze she won last year.
Cool.
Absolutely. And what else is there? Oh, yes. And then they have there was the World Skateboarding Championships, and we have an athlete there named Ryan DeScenzo, who has finished 11th overall and made the semifinal there. And he's 9th in the Olympic qualification rankings for Paris 2024, because it seems that will be an event there. And there you go.
Cool.
Oh, and sorry. We have 2 Grand Slam podiums in judo as well. Jessica Klimkate, who we've talked about before, has won the silver medal in the women's 57 kilogram event. She lost the final to Frances Priscilla Gnetto after taking her 3rd Shido, which is a penalty, of the bout in golden score time. And François Grottier-Drapeau won his 81 kilogram bronze medal bout over Turkey's Vedat Albariak when he scored an ippon about 2 minutes in.
Yeah, I had a Shido earlier when I got up. Morning constitutional.
Oh man, and then there's more. I mean, there's just some more. Our wrestlers did well. Our beach volleyball players did well. Our Canadian athletes are just kicking
ass and taking names
all over the place. We have a lot to be proud of. And on the awards circuit, more Canadians are receiving some honors. I believe we had mentioned that at the Critics, is it the Critics' Choice Awards?
I have no idea.
That Brendan Fraser had won the Best Acting award for his appearance in his performance in The Whale there, and he had made that very emotional speech. But Sarah Polley had also won for Best Adapted Screenplay for Women Talking. If you haven't seen it yet, it seems
I've not seen it. Yeah. I'm told it's great, though.
Yeah, it's about a group of women that were in a sort of like a Mennonite type community who had been basically being abused by the men, but they were given some reason for which it happened, and then they realized that it was actually the men doing that. And while they're all away at one point, they all sort of have a meeting to determine what it is that they're going to do about it. And it's based on true events.
Goodbye, Earl. Was it that kind of a scenario? Goodbye, Earl. Remember the chick?
That's why Earl had to die. Norm Macdonald,
missing one person that nobody missed at all.
Norm Macdonald won for Best Comedy Special for his Netflix special, Nothing Special.
2 of my favorite jokes in history are Norm Macdonald jokes. There's the moth joke, and then there's the one about his wife when she suddenly falls into a coma. The coma joke? I've told you that.
I don't think I know that.
Okay, Norm Macdonald's sitting at home with his wife one day, and she just immediately, boom, passes out cold and goes, "Oh my God." Rushes her to the hospital. The doc says, "Yeah, doc." Doc says, "Yeah, Norm, she had a stroke and she's in a serious coma right now, and we don't know what's going to happen, but I have a method. It's rather unorthodox, but it works. It's been proven to work time and time again." He says, "So if you're willing to try it, I know it's unorthodox, but if you're willing to try it, the results have been spectacular." He says, "Okay, doc, I want my wife to be up and alive and around, so I'll do anything to make this happen and get her healthy again." She says, "What do you need me to do?" He says, "Well, Norm, I need you to go in there and have oral sex with your wife. It's like, well, okay, doc, if you insist. I mean, that sounds a little out there, but I'll give it a go. So Norm goes into the room, and about 5 minutes later, he comes rushing out, and he goes, Doc, my wife, she's choking.
Oh. Yes, you did tell me that one. Yes, I remember it now. Oh, man.
He told that live on Conan's show, and Conan just about pissed himself because you don't see the punchline coming. There's no hint of that punchline, right?
Oh, man. We have some breaking news. Oh, well, hold on. We have some comments from some kits first. Canadian women's synchronized skating teams took junior gold and senior silver in the French Cup.
Yeah,
Good
I
to know.
posted
Thank
that.
you, Kit Linda M. And Kit Linda M also says it was a book, Women Talking by Miriam Toews.
Taves.
So, Taves? Yeah, probably
Taves.
Taves.
Yeah.
Probably Taves. And we have some very, 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 very big breaking news based on the conversation in the chat. It seems that we have an addition to the Eager Beaver family.
Yes, we do.
We have a puppy.
Yeah, Hugh has
we
a
have
puppy.
A puppy. Kit Hugh got himself a puppy. There
We've not
you go,
seen the
Mr.
photos
Grizzly.
yet.
Well,
Ashley has photos.
That's why I'm here. That's why I did the research. Put it up there, Mr. Friend.
Oh, you did? Oh, there you go. Look at that.
Well, yes. We have to break the breaking news.
Oh, my goodness. Look at that.
Look at that terminal cuteness alert.
Oh, he's adorable.
Meet Arwen, our new puppy. Hello, Kid Arwen.
Is he a spaniel? Springer spaniel?
Oh, my God. That's so good. That is cute. That is love on 4 legs right there.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. That's a heartbreaker.
Yay. Oh, cute pets. I love it. My heart is melting. Okay. More news. You're right, Kit Linda. He is absolutely adorable. Oh my God. I'm melting. Okay. News, because we have to get some of the hard news.
We've been at this for 45 minutes, and we haven't talked about
we've been given some news. We've been celebrating Canadians this proud, but now we're going to get into some of the political stuff. Like I said, it's just a little bit of a potpourri today. Little snippets here and there that we weren't able to fit in, and as they come up. So a little update from the. Let's see. Let's talk. Let's talk about that balloon for a little bit. The balloon that was taken down from by the U.S. that China is alleged to have sent out. It seems that the balloon entered Canadian airspace on Monday, and Defense Minister Anand confirms that Canada was involved in the operation to shoot down the balloon, as well as was closely engaged with its American counterparts on the decision, and that Canada unequivocally supports the actions taken. A senior State Department official has since said that the balloon was carrying sophisticated electronic surveillance technology capable of monitoring U.S. communications. The U.S. believes that it's part of a large fleet, the number of which is unknown, but they say that at least 24 such missions have been flown over 5 continents over the past few years. About 6 of those have been within U.S. airspace, though not necessarily over U.S. territory. And the U.S. has been having meetings with international allies from about 40 different countries over 5 continents about it. So, I have a feeling that we're going to be hearing more about this.
I would think so.
In the days to come. This is not over. And you have China really, really protesting a lot. So I'm guessing that I'm trying to figure out whether or not that they, whether or not they did want it to be found out, but I'm guessing maybe they underestimated the U.S.'s willingness to shoot it down.
Possible.
Thinking that the U.S. would be too afraid to provoke China. But now that they've taken it down, Secretary of State Anthony Blinken had a trip scheduled to China and he canceled it.
Well, isn't that peculiar, huh? Peculiar.
But how peculiar that the balloon also entered the U.S. airspace the day before that visit was supposed to be planned. When that visit was supposed to be one that was supposed to intended to try to start smoothing relations. The other alternative could be, because apparently when Xi got his 3rd term, looked like he was going to be president for life. That was kind of just before the protests started in China, where people in China were actively demanding his resignation, which does not happen in China.
No.
And, with the population decreasing and the birth weight decreasing and COVID still happening, and maybe he doesn't look like he's going to be president for life anymore so much. All of a sudden. Maybe things took a turn. Possible. I mean, the government of China is now in a very huge plot twist, having their national healthcare system now sponsor and pay for fertility treatments.
Mm.
This is the nation that had the one-child policy for the longest time.
A very long time, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Now they have the policy of encouraging people to get married and have more babies because the population's aging. And they don't really do immigration. They're going to have issues, and there's not enough women for all the men.
This is true.
There are going to be issues. Mr. Xi has got a lot more on its plate, and neighbors, Australia, New Zealand, Korea, Japan, they seem to be getting together. The Philippines is allowing the United States to access a few military bases there. It was recently announced. India is going to have on a second spot on its coast a place for shipbuilding, I believe. India is really starting to build itself a navy.
Mm-hmm. Yes, they are.
So when you put those 5 or 6 nations together, all of a sudden you've got a belt that's rather pro-democracy all around China and in the Asian region.
Well, India is the world's
China doesn't
largest
have very many
democracy.
natural allies. Pardon?
India is the world's largest democracy.
Yes, and by the end of the year, it will be the most populous nation.
Oh yes, yeah. It's really close to,
and it's younger.
Oh yes,
The average age is younger. So it's There's Mr. Biden mentioned in his State of the Union speech the other day that basically name a leader of a country that would like to change places with President Xi at the moment. It is quite possible that the apex of this period of growth and expansion for China was maybe hit in the previous decade.
Mm.
And that if he was going to make an expansionist move, he might not have made it fast enough. Because even though there's 1.3 billion people in that country, and even though the middle class has been growing at a furiously fast rate, there's still probably at least 500 million people are still living in pretty agrarian rural areas in China.
Easily.
Right? And the services and the money is not there to provide for them. So, I mean, internally, there's going to be some issues there. It's not going to be it's not just China's going to just grow forever and the population's so big that the internal economy will be enough to sustain it regardless of what happens in the world. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. Like I said, maybe we live in interesting times. But that's what's been going on with
boring.
It definitely is not boring in one way. I mean, let's put it this way. I would really like for the world to be a little more boring in a certain way because there are a lot of big stress things going on. But it gives us content.
Oh, yeah. That it does.
Yeesh. Acadia, the Acadia region said its final farewell to Viola Légère, who we've talked about before on the show, La Seguin,
Right.
at the Cathédrale Notre-Dame de l'Assomption in Moncton. Senators René Cormier and playwright Antonine Maillet were present. The Acadian region has lost one of its biggest ambassadors with her death. And people have said of her things like, I've spent time with her and met her on several occasions. She was an extraordinary lady of an incredible rigor. Everyone who met her has been touched by her. She passed away on January 28th at the age of 92. And the funeral service was officially held earlier this week. So rest in peace.
Rest in peace.
Thank you for your service to the nation. As you may have heard, you'd have to be I was going to say living under a rock, but that's a very bad turn of phrase for this. But there was a major, major, major earthquake in Turkey and Syria. And the early reports were that there were over 5,000 dead and over 20,000 injured. And things were so bad that even not naturally friendly nations to Turkey, such as Greece, had offered to help in the early hours. Canada, of course, had offered to help. And even though Ukraine has more than its hands fill, they too offered to help. Now
That's kind of wild when you think about it, right?
That's kind of wild, right?
They've got a lot on their plate right now.
Yeah. And still have time. I mean, they're serious about becoming members of the global community.
They really are. There's no joke there.
There's no doubt about that. Like, they're proving this left, right, and center, right? And Zelensky was in the UK. His only second visit outside of Ukraine during the whole war, and I believe that he addressed Parliament there, and then went on to Brussels to address all 27 members of the EU. He's getting his tanks, but his next ask is for fighter jets, and it seems that there are some nations that are already pretty inclined to hand them over. So that's going on that end. But in Turkey, the quake, which hit 7.8 on the Richter scale, has demolished at least 6,000 buildings in Turkey itself. The Canadian government has contributed $10 million right off the bat. That's just an initial amount. I have a feeling that we're soon going to be hearing the government announce, if it hasn't already, that there will be a matching program if we donate to the Red Cross, but I'm not sure if even that's been set up yet because the damage there is just so massive. We are that $10 million is to help, among other things, conduct further aid assessments, and we were considering the deployment of medical and search and rescue teams. And one of our disaster assessment teams has been deployed and is on the ground. There are more than 21,000 dead at the last count that I've heard, over 12,000 of them in Turkey, over 3,000 of them in Syria. There are over at least 3,000 displaced people. Yes, even Canadians like Peace by Chocolate, for example, when we say because democracy is something that you do, Peace by Chocolate is donating 100% of the proceeds from some of their chocolates to earthquake relief through the end of February. They have an earthquake relief section on their website. Please go do some tasty, tasty good.
And remember that Peace by Chocolate is run by Syrian immigrants.
Yes.
Who were Syrian refugees who were brought to Canada, who are now Canadian citizens, who have built a thriving business.
Who are employing Canadians.
In small town Nova Scotia.
And becoming a captain of industry and a community leader by doing things such as this.
Giving back to the country that gave him so much, as he has said so many times over. Sorry, I
love this man.
A little emotional thinking about it.
I love this man.
Yeah. He's the best of what we want to be, right?
Right. And plus he gets to make freaking chocolate for a living.
Yeah, that's not a bad gig.
Right? It's like, you get to make people so damn happy for a living. That's other than being that person that works like for Lotto 649 who gives the checks to people. Making chocolate has to be some of the best, I would assume, the best jobs in the world. In Turkey, Twitter was taken offline for a while because there was too much criticism of the response that was being shared. Citizens were criticizing that there were not enough rescue queues and not enough shelter, not enough humanitarian aid. And many parts of Turkey and Syria have no water, no fuel, or no shelter. And Turkish President Erdogan, who decided a few weeks ago that he was moving the election forward by a month for some reason before the earthquake hit. Bet you he's regretting that decision now. He has his priorities, right? You're criticizing too much when we have an election coming up. I'm just going to take Twitter offline for a while so that stops. Even though there's a 7.8 earthquake, which is like the deadliest earthquake in more than a decade and one of the biggest natural disasters in the world in decades, I'm still going to make time to make sure that you're not talking smack about me because I got my priorities. let's just say, if your country gets hit by an earthquake and everything falls down and your first priority is to make sure that people are not talking smack about you on Twitter, you might be a dictator.
Yeah, just a pretty good chance.
You might. You just might. And then, of course, because he's running in an election, Erdogan ridiculously and stupidly, laughably promised to have everything rebuilt within a year. And then tried to silence criticism once again by urging everyone not to listen to news from so-called provocateurs, but only official government information. Because dictators gonna dick.
Don't be a dick.
I'm just saying. I am just saying. Man's got his priorities.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man. A little bit more on the health deal. As we mentioned, $150 billion of that big amount of money was money that was expected anyway based on current agreements with the provinces. There's a $2 billion immediate increase that will be accounted for in this current fiscal year. Not the next one. And then there will be an increase in the annual escalator. We mentioned yesterday that it was the escalator was not going to be 5%, but that is an increase for the next 5 years over the 3% that Flaherty put in place in 2011 and has been in place ever since. And of the $46.2 million that was new money, or 48.2 if you add that $2 billion to it, 25 billion is for the bilateral deal. So not all 46, just 25, and specifically is there. And David Cochrane made a comment on the news that I found interesting that I wasn't really aware of. But he mentioned that with regard to the tax points in particular that the federal government has shared, and this is when we're talking about the sticking points in the way in the tail of the tail, the tail of the tape, the way that the premiers are telling the story, the way that the federal government is telling the story. And it says right here in his article, one major sticking point in the negotiations has been the baseline for healthcare funding in Canada. The provinces have been asking for the federal government to increase the Canada Health Transfer's share of total public health spending from 22% to 35%. The federal government has said it will offer more money, but rejects the claim that it only pays 22% of the cost of healthcare. Ottawa has argued that tax points transferred to provinces in 1977 bring the federal share closer to 38%. So the federal government is already saying that we're giving you more than 35 already, and the premiers are saying how you're actually giving us 13% less than 35. That's a big gap.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And it seems to be one of those things, that they're never going to agree on.
Well,
but the tax points do matter.
Well, I'm still mad at Dougie because he goes to the federal government hat in hand saying we need more money for healthcare, but he cut $980 million from the budget. So maybe if you put the money back that you got rid of, then you wouldn't look so bad asking for more. But when you cut it to the bone and then ask for more, it seems rather, what's the word I'm looking for? Suspect?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like where's, you cut $1 billion, you lost $4.4 billion in federal COVID dollars. Like, come on, man. Right.
But there's also another thing that I did not know, and it's not written here on this article. I only heard it on the news portion. So don't quote me specifically on the details because I'm trying to remember this from memory. But it seems that the annual increases in the Canada Health Transfer also depend on how well the economy is doing to a certain portion. And given that the economy ran gangbusters last year, we had a huge increase in economic output coming out of the pandemic. It seems that there's a transfer of money in there of about going to the provinces of $9.2 billion this coming year, that nobody's talking about really, just as a result of the economy having improved.
Yeah.
So they're getting more money as a result of that as well. So they're crying poverty. They're getting more money than would have been expected because the economy did so well. and then the escalator is going to go from 3 to 5%, and then they got a bonus $2 billion in the last minute. So they actually are getting a lot of money. And then there will be the first year of whatever bilateral deals they get of the, I guess, $2.5 billion that will be available in bilateral money. That is plus all the one-time infusion of COVID money recently that they didn't spend. And a lot of these provinces are running surpluses at the moment. And there's absolutely nothing in the Canada Health Act. And here's the thing, kids, also, is that when the premiers are doing the framing, right, all of their framing presupposes like there's something in the Canada Health Act that forbids them from taking more money from provincial resources or raising provincial taxes in some way so that the provinces could put more money of their own. Nothing prevents that. So if your premier is out there telling you that we can't do any more on healthcare whatsoever unless the federal government funds it pretty much fully, they're lying.
Of course they are.
They're lying.
They
can make other spending priorities, or they can raise a tax, or they could raise some cuts somewhere and take some money from somewhere else. But those are options that the provinces also have. It's not only the big bad federal government didn't give us enough, so now we can't do anything. It's not just that. So just now for the NDP, they want some conditions on the Canada Health transfer increase. According to David Cochrane, earlier Monday, NDP leader Jagmeet Singh called on Prime Minister Justin Trudeau to make any healthcare funding agreement with the provinces conditional on the provinces agreeing not to direct additional resources towards for-profit healthcare providers. Quote, the Prime Minister was very strong on this. He said there are going to be conditions. I absolutely agree there should be conditions, Singh said Monday. Those conditions should be public money should solve the problem. Public money shouldn't go towards a for-profit clinic being able to have more profit. Our public money should go towards solving the actual problem that we're up against, which is a shortage of healthcare workers. I don't disagree with that whatsoever. And it doesn't seem, at least for the initial amounts of money, that there's that many strings attached at the moment, which could be provoking the NDP's ire. I'm not seeing, as we mentioned in a previous show, how they can put strings to the CHT money specifically, Canada Health transfer money, because they've been doing that for years already, and there's no precedent for it at this moment, and it's hard to establish that type of precedent without raising the hackles, which is the reason for which I am supposing that most of that new money that the federal government is talking about is going on side deals where there might be able to have strings attached, and that extra $2 billion going immediately, which are supposed to help for certain things, which might have some strings attached. But it's just given the fact that we've been doing it for decades, giving money through the CHT with no strings and no conditions, I wouldn't hold much hope. And if I were Mr. Singh, I wouldn't hold much hope that there will be strings attached to that money. Because it's kind of hard to do it where you have not been doing it before.
Yeah.
But the emergence of this sort of two-track, where it isn't just one federal deal for all the provinces and things get split per capita and there you go, that there seems to be something else on the other side that are dealing with one-on-one specific provincial and territorial priorities, would be an area where you could start having strings. Now, the provincial and territorial premiers are going to call them shared priorities, but they're strings, just so you know. It's going to be a little fun with words, but when they're talking about shared priorities, they're talking about conditions, federal conditions. So we'll see what Mr. Singh does with that, but I don't foresee that he's going to have much ground to stand on at the end of the day. At the end of the day, I think a lot of this is for public consumption again, like for his particular demographic. But I'm not going to begrudge him this one, because somebody needs to be the Prime Minister seems to be very comfortable with not wanting to rock the boat with Doug Ford in particular, and I think perhaps I'm sensing a strategy here, if you'll bear with me. because you would think
I'll grizzly bear with you.
you feel grizzly bear with me, because you would think that the natural reaction of the prime minister would be to say, private healthcare like this, and started using it as a wedge to attack conservatives. And the prime minister seems to be perfectly content for the moment to consider what Doug Ford is doing in Ontario as innovation.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Here's what I think is going on, because not only that, but as I was listening to Power Politics, Dominic LeBlanc, who's the federal intergovernmental affairs minister, who negotiates with provinces and territories on behalf of the federal government, was very, very, very elogious of the
There's a word you
contributions.
don't hear every day.
Yes, of the contributions of Premier Doug Ford to the national table when it comes to this healthcare deal. Doug Ford was one of the first to climb down on conditions and saying he would be accepting of them, probably the first. He was also anyway, he seemed to be a little bit of a rallying person around the table to get other people from other premiers to go along with this. And Dominic LeBlanc had nothing but sunshine for him when he was talking about Doug Ford. And here's what I think might be going on. Because we have a progressive conservative, hardcore conservative split, and even though Doug Ford is a horrible human being who some of our kids have repeatedly said out loud should be in jail, he also is more on the progressive conservative side than the full-bore conservative side. He's just a shameless corporatist willing to sell everything out to his conservative masters along the way. That's the part where he's really hard right. It's the money part, but he doesn't really care so much about the immigration, and not even so much the gay thing, even though he won't show up out of pride. It's not like he's out there advocating against drag queen story time either. He'd just rather not talk about it at all, more or less. So if the federal conservatives keep on stuffing Doug Ford in the basement freezer, bound and gagged during elections, and he might not be liking that very much. And then there were some pictures going around the internet lately of him having meetings with people from other provinces where he was sitting around the table and he was at the head of the table.
Yeah.
Doug Ford is planning to run federally.
Oh, yeah. He's
leader of the Conservative Party.
He said that for a while.
Now, here's the thing, right? If Pepperidge Farms does win the current election because there's leader fatigue with the liberals after 3 years, that Doug Ford has maybe 4 to 8 years of Skippy to wait through, possibly 12 if they get a third term. And then after that, they'll be tired with the Conservatives, and then we'll have 8 to 12 years of Liberals before it's Doug Ford's time again. However, if Doug Ford can collaborate with Justin Trudeau to make sure that Justin Trudeau gets a 4th term, and Skippy will get the boot for not having one,
which he will,
right? Then Doug Ford slides in opportunistically to take the CPC leadership, just like he did the Ontario PC leadership after he organized. No, he arranged. Well, I guess we can't. He allegedly arranged to have Patrick Brown booted from the race. Because, and then gets to take on an even more tired Trudeau after 4 terms, or a Freeland, or after a 4th term or something like that, because I doubt very much Trudeau would run for a 5th. And all of a sudden, he's pretty much sure to fall forwards or fail forwards back into the prime minister's seat.
You also have to consider something here, and this will be the elephant in the room. Who's to say that Doug Ford is in the health? His health will be good enough in a few years to make that run?
Well, he's taken that bet. But yes, that is a question.
It is. It's a legitimate question.
It's a legitimate question. But as they keep on saying, only the good die young. Because that orange shit stain south of us is still alive, and when he's pushing 80, he's not a paragon of health.
and he overdoses daily on what is it, Sudafed?
Sudafed, yeah.
Ephedrine, right?
Yeah.
That's why he has to wear diapers, because he shits himself all the time.
Right. But
no, he does. This is not
yes.
a fallacy. It's the truth. Yeah.
Yes, but not talking about him.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. So if Doug Ford really wants to be prime minister sooner rather than later, then he has to be quietly working against Skippy.
Right now. Yeah.
Right now.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. No question.
Because otherwise he's got a 15 to 20 year wait before that opportunity comes again.
Mm-hmm.
I think we have a CPC civil war going on.
I'm okay with that.
I think that was shots fired.
Let them tear themselves apart. Let them tear themselves apart.
Just
you got to remember too. You got to remember too.
See if it comes true.
Old Dougie has admitted to in interviews, I'm a big time Republican. You know, Doug, we don't have that party in this country.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You're in the wrong country to say that, dude. Maybe as a politician.
But that's the thing, right? If he led the federal party, the Conservatives would become more a Republican, traditional Reagan Republican style party.
Trickle down.
Then freedom convoy type stuff. Now, doesn't mean that he's not more than willing to play footsie with them.
Oh, of course not. I mean, he fiddled while Ottawa burned, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. He knows what side his bread is buttered on. Let's put it that way. And he's very good at doing math that way. But
the thing is, and this is important, there are more of us than there are of them. And I don't like to say an us and them because we're all Canadians, but that is a small fringe minority, right? We do know this. The problem being not enough of us, and by that I mean center left or center right or centrist altogether, didn't come out and vote in the last provincial election. And that's how Doug got a majority with 17% of the 43% turnout.
Yep. We have Kit Saucy here going, which would be worse, Ford or Polliver? It's like asking, would you prefer a hand or foot cut off? In one way, I agree, but I have a feeling that in one way, Polliver would be worse because he would just bring the national mood down because he's just basically a funnel of negativity.
Yeah.
Ford would be worse in the sense that he would be very good at finding all the levers and basically changing rules and regulations and quiet so that he would be selling us out while he's doing his shucks, gee folks, smile shtick.
Let's make a cheesecake.
Yes, most of us wouldn't know what was happening until the cupboard was bare.
Yeah.
So they're both pretty bad. This is basically what I'm saying here.
Well, and we've had,
but Doug Ford has that survival instinct where he's willing to back down and come off a ledge in order to keep his career going, whereas Peter Popinjay just puts his head down and doubles down. So.
Look, you know how much I cannot stand Doug Ford. That's no secret, but I'll give him this. He has personality and a touch of charisma.
He does.
Skippy, none of that. None of that. So when Doug does his folks thing and cries alligator tears, people believe it because he's very good at doing it. He is. And look, I'm sure somewhere within the man, there's got to be some goodness in there somewhere.
Yeah.
He can't be 100% evil.
Right.
And I use the term evil very loosely. Because a lot of I don't believe the man is personally evil, but a lot of the things he does are evil. Not necessarily that he's rooting it in evil, but he's handing money to wealthy people to do things that harm us.
He's got tunnel vision for the dollar. All he cares is Ontario's open for business.
That's it. And as a result, evil things get done because of that.
Yep. But that's why he gets away, because people you get all these like nice little old ladies and nice old men going, oh well, he's doing the best he can. He doesn't mean any harm.
That's his shucks, folks. Let's make a cheesecake.
Yeah. Well, even though that may be true, it's like he may not be so bad and he may not be meaning to do harm, but he is doing harm. So maybe you'd like to stop him.
Well, and I think he's doing the harm because he's not that smart. And somebody who is smarter than him can manipulate him to get him to do the things that they want to do. Because as David Wallace has said, he is a puppet. He's a useful idiot. I mean, as evidenced by the selling off of the Greenbelt.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's a useful idiot. He's a puppet for the wealthy, and there's Russian money involved there too. And I'm not going to wade into the weeds on that because we don't have any of the documentation in front of us. But it has been proven. It is a fact.
Indeed. And in other provincial,
I need a third cup. Sorry, I need a third cup, man. I'm not awake
yet. You needed
yet.
a third cup, did you?
Yeah, I'll be right back.
Okay, before I go to the other Ontario news, because we were talking about healthcare dollars here for a moment. There were some very interesting interviews on Power and Politics the other day with regard to this agreement, and one of them is with the Premier of the Northwest Territories, Carolyn Cochrane. And I think you get a better sense of the actual vibe of what was going on through her and her comments. There have been two premiers in particular who have been impressing me with this. It's been Carolyn Cochrane has been one, and the other one has been Andrew Furey, the Premier of Newfoundland and Labrador. Both of them, when I've been listening to their comments in the press, pre-meeting and post-meeting, have been speaking like they're the ones that took it upon themselves to be the adults in the room here. So I have a lot of time for what it is that both of them have to say about this particular issue. Now, the Premier of the Northwest Territories said, and this is a quote, well, I think it's important to recognize, first of all, that the federal government has finally come to the table. It's been a number of years in asking to meet. We can't do this alone, especially in the territories. We're very reliant on support. We're a large land mass with a very small population, so we are very dependent on the supports we can get from the federal government. So, I am optimistic that there will be funding coming through the bilateral agreements to the territories. I'm really glad that it wasn't all per capita. The Canada Health Transfer money will be per capita, but the bilaterals is not going to be. I'm also respectful that he's increasing the Territory Health Initiative funding, and I'm excited that he's actually looking at the Indigenous government stream as well. She mentions that the Northwest Territories only has about 45,000 people, so per capita changes in healthcare funding are not really significant for the territories because it doesn't really move the dial all that much.
Mm-hmm.
That their reality is a little bit different, and that the majority of their needs with regard to health will be met through the bilateral agreements as opposed to other provinces who really depend on the big chunk that comes from the transfer. She mentions that over half the population in the Northwest Territories are Indigenous, and that is one of the reasons on which she has a lot of questions for the federal government. And then she says, quote, a lot of times when government gives money for Indigenous streams, it goes to Indigenous people on reserve, which in fairness are very needy as well, especially when it comes to healthcare. But the Northwest Territories is often left out of that formula. We only have 1.5 or 2 reserves in the Northwest Territories, but we have like 15 Indigenous governments. So it was one of the first questions I asked in the meeting with our Prime Minister is, will you consider the on-reserve and off-reserve? Because I want to make sure that all Indigenous governments actually have access to that stream. There's no Indigenous government that isn't struggling with their healthcare needs for their people, so it would be inappropriate, in my opinion, to only allocate it to on-reserves and then exclude the people in the North. That would not be okay. The North has struggled for very long. The federal government recognized that. They've done an Arctic and Northern policy framework, so I'm hoping they'll take that into consideration. Then when asked about the mood of the meetings, and as we mentioned on the previous show, this wasn't a negotiation. It really wasn't. From what we've been hearing later on, it was a 2-hour meeting where basically the Prime Minister presented, said, here's the package, here's what it was, and it was a technical briefing where they got to ask lots of questions, and so it really wasn't negotiations. As we read it in the previous episodes is pretty much how it went down. I've learned since. She mentioned, quote, I would not say it was tense at all. I think that everyone was very respectful, the Prime Minister, the federal ministers, the premiers around the table. I think, in fairness, all of us had questions. It was a proposal that was kind of dropped on us, and we were scrambling to make sense of it. So there were valid questions asked around the table, myself included, around the Indigenous stream, around the northern funding for the Northwest Territories. But I would say that no one, at any point, was inappropriate, was aggressive. I think we're all responsible.
Mm.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And we had the federal minister, Leblanc, who we've been talking about, who, like I said, is getting a lot of points. At the end of the year, I know we're early in February already, but I'm starting to take some notes. And if at the end of the year we have an award, most valuable cabinet minister, right now he's one of my nominees for the work that he's done on this. He's quoted as saying, "This is a massive investment in our public healthcare system. We think the government of Canada has dug deep, not only in recent weeks to prepare this offer, but over the last few years. I mean, it would be, I think, rather ungenerous of premiers to pretend that the federal government hasn't been there to support provinces and territories and the healthcare system during COVID. The fiscal position of the government of Canada is different today than it would have been 3 to 4 years ago. The Prime Minister referred to these transfer of tax points. That's $25 billion added dollars every year that is part of the federal transfer. The provinces were asking for 28. So the tax points count for 25 of those 28 that the provinces say that they have not been receiving all these years since 1977. 1977 is how long this dance has been going on. All right. It's like
Pathetic.
I'm half being expecting Celine Dion and Peeble Bryson to come out and go, "Tale as old as time," right? I mean, it's just your act is getting old. You need to switch it up. We've seen the show before. Change de disque. Huh? Yeah, my God. So so basically, that's $25 billion additional dollars every year. That's part of the federal transfer. The provinces have asked us to go to 35% of the overall cost of public healthcare system. The good news is that with this announcement today, we're very close to that 35% mark, even more according to David Cochrane, 38 with the transfers, and then they're giving more. And it's the basis to have a very constructive conversation with the provinces and territories. So there you go. That's some of the stuff that has been coming up. And like I mentioned, I don't have any quotes from him right here, right now, but I had noted some in at other spots. But Anthony Furey, the Premier of Newfoundland and Labrador, along with Premier Carolyn Cochrane, who I've quoted a lot here, they were the two adults in the room among all the premiers, pre, post. They seem to have a more tempered take on it. Don't seem to have any reason to make a partisan spin to spin it as being better or worse than it was. So those are the two voices I would be listening to if you get your hair on the ground and you're listening to news. Tim Houston from Nova Scotia hasn't been so bad as well. I have to mention in this part of it. He's the messes of his own making, but now that he's stuck,
Yes.
right, he's had all that really, really bad press. He seems to have fallen in line with reasonable. How long it lasts?
Yeah, well, I'm still disappointed in Scott.
Aitchison. Yeah.
It's like, oh, dude, I had so much hope for you. You looked like an actual progressive, but now he's just towing the party line, falling in line, getting behind Skippy. I'm like, man.
I know. It's. I don't know why. You know what side your bread's buttered, I guess, and right. I mean, and then you go. I mean, it's. He's in that job for 2 to 3 years, right, until the next election before. So what's he going to do?
Mm-hmm. Well, I guess he doesn't want to bite the hand that's feeding him, right? So he's biding his time until he can make a run for leader. But the thing is, and I understand the game that he's playing, but the things he's saying and doing right now, you've lost my support.
Well, it's one of those things, right, where you compromise yourself by like giving a fingertip.
Mm-hmm.
And then 3 months later, you give the finger. Then 3 months later, you give the palm. And then 3 months later, it's the wrist. And then right? Because once you start going down that, like this, because this is a hungry beast that's insatiable, right? It will always ask for more.
Of course.
Well,
it's like how much of your integrity are you willing to sell out to ascend to that position? How much of yourself are you willing to give up to pursue a position of power? Like, how much is enough? And I can't answer that question. It's like, I will never run for political office. Never. I'm not nearly vain enough. I don't hate myself that much. I'm not power hungry, and I'm not a narcissist. So, and I'm not saying that everybody in politics are those things. But I think you need a little bit of dab of each one of them to run for office today.
Mm-hmm.
Because the amount of abuse that's going to get hurled at you on a daily basis, no matter what you do, you're going to piss somebody off somewhere at some time. And you have to be able to have the thick skin and the big broad shoulders to handle it.
Mm-hmm. Good morning, Kit Pete. Hello, mate. Lovely to see you. Yes,
G'day,
live
mate.
A. Definitely live A. Yes, Kit Saucy mentions in the comment here, I feel one-on-one Ford is actually a good person. However, when it comes to money, then he is nefarious. Pierre Poliver is a different beast and more dangerous.
Agreed.
Yeah, I agree with you right there. That's what I think. That's what I think. In other news from Ontario, which may be very, very interesting, we have some plot twist developments.
Worst
Remember
case
how in the
Ontario.
provincial election we kept on talking about Mike Schreiner, leader of the Green Party, and how he was wonderful and how he done a good job, and if only he were leading the Liberals. Well, it turns out that the Liberal Party is thinking that too.
Yeah, they've been really sort of, I don't want to use the word badgering, but they're really sort of courting him heavily.
They're
Heavily
very
courting
much
him.
courting him. It seems that the Liberals also agree that Mike Schreiner would probably be best placed. The right man, give him a good
Dude,
vehicle.
we were in full support of that man when we watched him in the
I'm
debates.
definitely
It's
full
like,
support of it. Yep.
this is a good man.
This is a good man. So on December 8th, there was an article in the Guelph Mercury that says Schreiner has no plans to run for Liberal leader. None whatsoever. Ruled it out. Mike Schreiner is not looking to make the switch to the Liberal Party. In a statement to the Mercury Tribune, the Guelph MPP and provincial Green Party leader said he is proud to head up that party, quote, and to lead the fight against Doug Ford's regressive politics. His plan is to carve up the Green Belt as just the latest example of a thoughtless and destructive agenda that threatens the well-being of everyone in Ontario. My focus is mobilizing people against Ford's attack, the Green Belt, environmental protections, and the people and places we love in Ontario. I'm best positioned to do this as the MPP for Guelph and the leader of Ontario's Green Party. I have no plans to run for Liberal leader. That is very, 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 very definitive.
Yes, and I've read that a couple of times, right?
Right.
And he is pretty steadfast in his desire to stay put.
Yes.
But the courting continues.
The courting continues. And at a QP briefing 4 days ago now, Schreiner could give Liberals an edge against Ford in an election, poll says. A new poll also shows Green leader Mike Schreiner would be Ontario Liberals leader's best bet against Premier Doug Ford in a hypothetical election. QP's briefing polling partner Main Street Research surveyed 1,166 Ontarians using automated telephone interviews from February 3rd to 4th. It asked respondents if who they'd vote for if one of 5 potential Liberal leaders faced off against Premier Doug Ford and NDP leader Merritt Stiles, and it's accurate 19 times out of 20. And let's see what the poll says. Because unfortunately the article's behind a paywall.
Well, speaking of courting, Merritt Stiles is still married, right? What? I find her. Look,
she's a beautiful woman.
She's beautiful. She's whip
Classy.
smart. She's better than I am in 100 different ways. What's not to love about that? I'm not hitting on her. I'm talking about how much of an incredible human being she is. So I'm attracted to that.
Mm-hmm.
Please tell me there's nothing wrong with that. Please tell me that's okay. I'm not being a sexist, misogynist pig. Please tell me that. I need to hear that. I need reassurance that I'm not a bad person for being attracted to a beautiful woman who is also smarter than me, more accomplished than me, and is making a change in this world that's positive.
I think you're okay. All right, so let's see. Here's the question. We will now ask some hypothetical matchups given prospective candidates for the Ontario Leadership Party leadership race. Ontario Liberal Party leadership race. Ontario Leadership Party. If the provincial election were held today, how would you vote? Whether Mike Schreiner was the leader, Matt Richter, or yes. So I'm guessing they sampled for 2 people. I guess Mike Schreiner as leader or Matt Richter, the Green Party candidate from Muskoka, as Green Party leader. And let's see, the Liberals with Mike. So basically, the vote would go down 33 if Mike Schreiner was leading, 33% for Ford, 24% for Schreiner, 16% for Merritt Style, 7% for the Green Party Leader Richter in that case. So it puts them a little bit more in the game. They're not saying that he would win, but he's in the game.
He's in the game.
Yeah. So that came about, and it turns out that a few days ago, Mike Schreiner put something out stating that he is now giving it some consideration.
Well, perhaps the
Yes.
courting has
He
been.
said, yes. He mentioned, let's see, here we go and see TV. Ontario Green Party leader Mike Schreiner has indicated he may cross the floor and run to lead the Liberal Party after a group of 40 members reached out in a public letter over the weekend. Over the last few months, Schreiner, who was the first Green Party MPP to be elected in Ontario in 2018, has been combating rumors that he will run for the leadership of the opposing party. In a statement released Monday, he indicates it may be a possibility. Now, this is from January 30th, so this was last week. As you know, I have always said that I have no ambition to lead any party other than the Ontario Green Party. I'm feeling the butt. Yesterday, I received a serious letter from people who expressed concerns I share about the current government and the need for urgent action on the climate crisis. They have reached out across party lines in a unique way in the spirit of doing politics differently. So, I'm going to ask people to give me time to think about their arguments.
Let's go, Mikey. You can do it.
Do it. Schreiner added that he hopes to talk to his constituents and get more feedback before making a decision. He also reiterated that he remains focused on representing those constituents and working with people in the fight to protect the Green Belt. The statement comes a day after 40 Liberals wrote a letter to Schreiner over the weekend in which they take an unprecedented step to reach outside our ranks, as they themselves admitted in the letter, in an effort to find a leader. The letter they wrote to him said, quote, "Our party needs to rediscover a politics of purpose and principle. We need to reach out to a new generation of voters. We need to open up to new people and new ideas and to embrace the kind of energy and enthusiasm that is driving grassroots activism and engagement across the province. And that's why we're turning to you." The letter cites Schreiner's strong principle-based approach and ability to motivate activists as some of the reasons why he would make a good candidate for leader. "We know what kind of future we want for our children and grandchildren. We are ready to roll up our sleeves and make it happen, but we need a leader to guide us there. We believe you can be such a leader."
So this,
I think this is brilliant.
If you look at what's posted on the screen right now, this is from Rhiannon. It blew my mind when I found that the Green Party was basically conservatives who believed in climate change. I've been saying that for years, but we need to add a word in there between basically and conservatives, because the Green Party are progressive conservatives who care about the climate.
Yes, Elizabeth May worked for Brian Mulroney.
That's right.
When he was Prime Minister.
She left progressive conservatives who care about the environment. Yeah. That's it.
Yeah, I don't know if she left her job at the Sierra Club to do that.
I don't recall.
Yeah, I don't recall that. But yes, she was. I mean, there was a reason that Prime Minister Brian Mulroney, a few years later, was deemed the greenest Prime Minister in Canadian history.
Mm-hmm.
It was Elizabeth May.
Yeah. A lot of people are surprised to find that out because they didn't realize that. But yeah, no, the Green Party has always been a progressive conservative party that cared about the environment.
Yes, but they're progressive conservative in the way that we talked about progressive conservative, in the way that I deemed myself to be a progressive conservative back in the day.
Yes. Joe Clark, progressive conservatives.
I do not believe in waste. I don't like waste.
Mm-hmm.
I like us to be fiscally responsible when it comes to not generating waste. And the reason I want that is so that I can take that money and do all the woke, snowflakey, tree hugging, bicycle riding, Birkenstock wearing, granola crunching, whatever peace, love, happiness, woo-woo stuff that conservatives hate. Right? I do not want to be wasting money by paying an extra 30% on a contract that I could be getting 30% left because that money could feed children. Or
Right.
that money can get someone who's disabled a wheelchair or additional mobility or, adaptation for the computer so that it reads to them or whatever, right? It's just that everybody has a chance to give their best to the nation, right? The equity thing, right? If I need to spend extra money to build you something to stand on that's 6 inches taller than I am so that we can both see the parade going by, then take my money. So, yes, Greens are those types of progressive conservatives, and they're not socially conservative in any way. And but yes, they do believe in being fiscally responsible so that they can have the money to be able to put towards the climate transition. So some of us wanted to put it to humanitarian causes or just to help people get a better education, and they wanted to put it to keep Mother Earth's lungs clean. So I mean, it's the same principle. We're just going to do different things with the windfalls, right? But this is a very, 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 very interesting move. I hope he does it. I hope he does it.
So do I, because I think it would actually help. Well, who's the current interim leader for the Liberal Party? Because
John Fraser
stepped down. John Fraser, okay. So he I think having Mike Schreiner as the Liberal leader, because he definitely leans left. Right? He leans more left than right. He's more left than center. Not heavily, but he definitely leans more left. And when I watched him in the debates, I'm like, that's the guy. That's the guy. He just doesn't have enough power to ever... the Green Party's not going to have enough seats for him ever to become premier.
Right.
So if he switches parties, if he crosses the floor, and I don't think people in the Green Party would be super pissed at him if he did.
No,
I'm sure there'd be some people go, well, he's abandoning us. But others would yeah, but he can actually make a difference now.
They're all about doing politics differently. That's the whole point. He said, right, in his letter, it says they came to me in the spirit of doing politics differently. So I'm considering it. That's the whole Green motto.
Yes. So, I mean, he if he crosses the floor and assumes or ascends, because they're asking him to be the leader. Do they need to have get the delegates together and have a vote on it?
I would assume so.
Yeah, I would think, right? They can't just hand him the position.
They could bring him in as interim, but he would still need to be confirmed.
Right.
I would assume.
Well, didn't Merritt kind of assume the position quite easily?
Well, nobody ran against her.
Oh, that's what it was. Okay, right.
Yeah, she threw her name in, and everybody said, "Oh yeah, she got this wrapped up."
So okay, so that's why.
Compete against that. Yeah, that's similar. That happened in British Columbia as well. Although there was a second candidate, but she got eliminated, and then that left to David Eby alone. And and we have comment here from Kit Saucy. He goes, "I swore and spoke too much weed to be a politician, but may try starting at the local level. Councillor first, slightly more flexible." And that's a good spot, because that's
a great spot to start. If you're going to enter politics at a local level, municipal level is the best way to start, because that can make the most difference in everybody's day-to-day life.
And the conservative movement is trying to take over the school boards and the local seats in order to ban those books and all that type of stuff. Work on that level. They're borrowing the conservative movement, particularly under PP, is borrowing a lot from that section in the United States. So we're about maybe 5 to 10 years behind them, but that movement is trying to pull that crap up here too. So again, there are more of us than there are of them. The more of us that run for those seats, the less of them there will be on those councils.
And you got to remember that's as grassroots as it gets, right? They start by taking over municipalities and school boards. They indoctrinate people into their belief system, which is largely based on religion, which has SFA to do with the laws of this land. SFA to do with the laws of this land. Religion has no place in any government office, period. You can be a religious person and practice your religion on your own in your private time. You can wear a crucifix or a Star of David or a turban or a hijab if you want. I'm Go ahead, knock yourself out. You're free to do that. But you need to park your religion at the door when it comes to the laws and the policies of this land. And I think it was Jean Chrétien who really summed it up a bunch of years back when somebody in an interview said, well, you're a Roman Catholic. Why are you supporting same-sex marriage? He says, because my religion does not sit in that office. I have to rule for all Canadians. I have to look at the laws of the land, and the laws of the land are unjust and unfair. So I'm going to change them to make them fair and just and equal.
Mm-hmm.
Religion stays outside of that office door, and it has to. And I was like, okay, because I was not happy with a lot of the things Mr. Chrétien did, but he gained a ton of respect from me on that one. Because not only did he say the right thing, but he did the right thing.
Indeed. Yep.
He walked the walk and he talked the talk and walked the walk. He did it.
He served all the people.
He did. And again, a lot of things he did, I did not like. Let's not even go into the weeds on the helicopters.
Yep. But on that decision, he served all the people.
He did.
You have Kit Lidem going, I would have a hard time deciding between Merritt Stiles and Mike Schreiner. I would too.
Yeah. That's a difficult one. Yeah.
I would have to wait to see how that race pans out. You have Kit Saucy going, see, if I ran for the Green Party, it would take a different meaning. So today we're going to talk about our next. Maybe we should talk about when we're going to have our next meeting tomorrow.
Pass the Doritos, man. I need some Doritos. You got some Doritos? How about some Pringles?
We need to talk about the Hawkins cheesy situation.
I ate a whole bag of gummy worms last night. Don't ask me why. I'm walking home and I'm like, ooh, gummy worms. I'll purchase some of them from the local corner store. I got home. I'll have one. You can't have one. You can't have. You open the bag. You're going to eat it all.
Yep. My beaver sweetie brought me home a box of turtles yesterday as a gift, and I've been very good to have not demolished them completely in about 2 hours. There are still some left. I loves my turtles with real pagans.
Real pagans, 100% pagan approved.
Yum, 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 yum. Let's see. What else have we got here? Do you have anything, Mr. Grizzly?
I got a couple of little tidbits.
All right.
So first off, here's one that I think is pretty cool. This is dedication to education in a difficult time. This morning's algebra lesson in one of Kyiv's schools taught from the subway floor. This is the real damage from the missile attacks.
Jeez.
Right? So that's a tough one. And I'm going to... So in the passing of Burt Bacharach died suddenly at 94.
94.
This is from Dionne Warwick. I follow her on Twitter.
Yes.
Burt's transition is like losing a family member. These words I've been asked to write are being written with my sadness over the loss of my dear friend and my musical partner. On the lighter side, we laughed a lot and we had our run-ins, but always found a way to let each other know our family, like roots, were the most important part of our relationship. My heartfelt condolences go out to his family. Let him know he is now peacefully resting, and I too will miss him.
Mm-hmm.
And then let's cheer it up with a puppy.
Yeah, puppy. Now, Burt Bacharach is a legendary songmaker. He had a writing partner, Hal David, together. I think Burt Bacharach won 3 Oscars, 8 Grammys.
Yeah.
Dionne Warwick sang a lot of his songs. Aretha
Say
Franklin,
a Little Prayer
Tom
for
Jones, You. Luther Vandross, exactly. Say a Little Prayer for You. Raindrops Keep Falling on My Head. Burt Bacharach had a small little role in one of the Austin Powers movies as well, and has a Canadian connection. He actually studied classical music at McGill University.
I did not know that.
Yeah. So died at 94 at his home in Los Angeles. A lot of people, I don't know, consider him a little cheesy, I guess.
Agreed.
But I was raised on Burt Bacharach songs because my mom loved Dionne Warwick. So I was like, I personally am a fan.
Well, you got to remember too, it was sort of his peak period was in the early to mid 60s when it was sort of a romantic period, which is why Austin Powers, the character of Austin Powers, was so, into Burt Bacharach, because he's, people were much hornier back then. Now, you also have to remember Austin Powers came out in the 90s when we were all convinced we were going to die of AIDS, right?
Yes.
Prior
Yes.
to all of the protease inhibitors and the cocktails and all of the things that we now, it's not a death sentence anymore. So times have changed. And of course, everybody having access to whatever kind of pornography suits your style on their phone 24/7
Yeah.
has changed people's attitude towards sex.
Indeed, indeed. One little thing I forgot to mention about the health stuff is that now that the main conference has taken place, the one-on-one meetings with the provinces have started. The first province to go up was Ontario, which is a switch from childcare, where they were the last one, kicking and screaming. And Doug Ford, again, being the first one to go there and saying that the meeting was very productive, still have some work to do. But again, doing that thing, just leading the charge, doing the statesman thing, setting all the little markers for a federal run. Pay attention. It's happening.
Keep your eye on.
All the other premiers will be meeting together by video today, conference to try and come up with what they call as a united front. But I'm not seeing the point of the united front, given that pretty much everybody agreed to this deal. You're probably not going to get more. If there is any additional money that's going to come, it's going to come out of the bilaterals while you're talking. And, people are saying, well, to really do this right, we need an extra 300,000. Somebody might go, okay, fine. We'll throw the extra 3,000. So I'm certain that there'll be like some slight top-ups, but probably not more than probably not more than an extra 2 billion or 2.5 billion, about 10% of the 25 billion amount. I would say that there's probably some wiggle room, but it's not being presented as if there's any wiggle room. Because you have to remember that the federal government is also doing this thing where on the economy, it's trying to move a little more to the Paul Martin Chrétien a little bit dialogue about fiscal prudence and Chrystia Freeland, as we mentioned, has been sort of laying the markers over the last year, slowly but surely talking about some things. And and you have Pierre Poilievre. Basically, his tack here is that the government spent too much on other stuff, that they don't have the money to pay for it now, leaving the impression that were he the premier or he the prime minister, he would have spent wisely all that time and he would have the money to spend now. But of course, as we all know, healthcare is the biggest, big, fat social program in Canada, and Conservatives, according to Pierre, don't believe in that. So when he turns around and said, "Oh, you spent so much more that we don't have the money to have now," like this, I would have. No, he wouldn't have. No, he wouldn't have. Because he still doesn't believe in that. The fact that he would have lots of money available with which to be able to do it doesn't mean he would believe in it more.
We're conservatives. We don't believe in those big government spending programs.
Because Doug Ford, at the end of the last year, because of all the the additional gas money and all that kind of stuff, had $13 billion. And what did he decide to do with it? Build a highway instead of putting it into use. So so the fact that they have the money doesn't mean they'll spend it on it. They'll say they said that they could, and I guess they could have, but that they don't and won't. So yeah, don't fall for that line. Just so you mentioned. Little interesting development stateside. Special counsel Jack Smith, who's looking into the things with regard to the orange shit stain and the conspiracy to bring about January 6th and the downfall of the government, has subpoenaed none other than former Vice President Mike Pence. Smith's office wants documents and testimony related to January 6th, as well as testimony from Pence as to his interactions with Trump leading up to the 2020 election and the date of the insurrection. And it seems that Pence's memoir may have opened the door with regards to questions from prosecutors, because there are things he mentions in them. And here's the thing, the interesting debate that I've been hearing on some podcasts. Given that people like Mike Pence and a couple of other people in their circle are basically writing in their memoirs about crimes that they knew and were aware that Trump committed at the time that he was committing them. And by law, you are supposed to report knowledge of a crime as soon as you know of it to an authority, not save it for 3 years so that you can make money off it, writing about it in your book. Did Mike Pence commit a crime? And did he just confess to it by writing in his book that he knew about it? And would that give the special counsel some leverage to maybe encourage him to testify? Provide him a little motivation? I mean, Smith did work at the International War Crimes Tribunal, right? So it's not like he doesn't have any experience dealing with savory people who are not willing to cooperate.
Yeah, but yeah.
Just saying. You got to think about it. It looks also that as we mentioned on a previous show, the United States is seeking to end its COVID-19 public health emergency declaration sometime in May, and basically that will result on people on state Medicaid. There's been some clarification. People on state Medicaid will still get COVID tests and treatments and vaccines for free, but only until September of 2024. People on Medicare will have to pay out of pocket for over-the-counter home COVID tests and treatments, but vaccines will still be covered. And for people with private insurance, at-home COVID tests will be free if the provider chooses to cover the cost, and vaccinations will still be free for people who go to network providers. So if you happen to have some friends or family stateside, that's information for them that they could use. So please pass it on. Here in Canada, with regard to Hockey Canada and specifically, the Federal Minister of Sport, Pascal Saint-Onge, says that it's time for Hockey Canada to open its books. Even though it's a non-profit, it was discovered while we were doing all this investigation that the organization is actually quite profitable indeed.
So it would seem.
Yes. As a nonprofit charity, it is not legally compelled to make its finances public, which prompts the question for me, why the fuck not? Because if you're a registered not-profit charity, then you are getting certain tax advantages that are subsidized by us. So therefore, why would it not be required as a matter of course that you would make your finances public?
Seems reasonable, I would think.
Yes. Now, a lady named Kate Bain, who seems to be a recognized watchdog with regard to charities, basically said, if you can think of it like at the fun fair, it's like at the fun fair when you have those 3 different cups and they're moving all the time. So that's basically what Hockey Canada did. In its various accounts, it had tucked away assets of over $150 million.
That's a lot of cheddar.
For a nonprofit?
You think?
It's like, why are you sitting? What are you going to build with that $150 billion? An arena? That's a lot of money that could be going to funding the women's and the men's and the seniors and the kids programs and and skating programs for the disadvantaged. I mean, you could probably buy hockey equipment for every kid in Canada playing hockey who's poor.
Mm-hmm.
With that money, right? That's a lot of money coming in. So she basically says there was so much money coming in, there was intent to hide, clear intent to hide. So the federal sports minister, Saint-Onge, ordered an audit saying, I personally think it should be when talking about making the private, the financial documents public. So she mentioned that she's interested in exploring how far the government is allowed to go on transparency with regard to that. Because, again, I can't think of a good reason for which an organization's finance would not be a matter of public record as a matter of course. So the minister's review is expected by April, and I would not be surprised if there are more provisions for disclosure at that point.
Makes sense, yeah.
Yeah, that just makes sense. Otherwise, I don't know. That's just a lot of money to have hidden. It's ridiculous. Especially since they're not using that money for any good purpose. I mean, if they were doing something good with it, I can understand it, but come on. It makes me mad. It makes me mad. There will be... Canada will be giving as well, with regard to the Indigenous community, $2 million on an international commission to offer advice on unmarked graves at the sites of former residential schools. This was funding that was announced by Indigenous Crown Relations Minister Mark Miller. A technical agreement will be signed with the International Commission in question. It's the International Commission on Missing Persons, and it's an organization that works in many countries to help identify remains of people who have disappeared. So the federal government is spending $2 million to try and get some of that expert outside advice on how it is that we can proceed with that. So money well spent as far as I'm concerned.
Indeed.
Right there. Do we have a show, Mr. Grizzly?
We do, sir. We do, and I'm getting busy with my day job here, so that's why I'm listening to everything. I just can't comment because I'm responding to emails and messages at the moment. Got to earn a living, right? Till we can, till we start bringing in enough money with this, I have to continue to hold down a day job.
Indeed. Got a little more tidbits here to finish it before we go off on the weekend. Donald, we mentioned on a previous show that Donald Trump was fined $1.6 million in that fraud case from the Trump Organization in the United States, and that was the maximum that he could be charged, even though
this guy right here, this guy,
yes, this guy
right there,
yes.
For those listening, it's a photo of Donald Trump's head photoshopped onto a large naked man who is sitting into a crock,
an orange
crock, and it says, "There you have it, folks, an actual crock of shit."
So he was Trump Organization was fined $1.6 million in that case. Well, that's not the end of his financial woes. Apparently, Trump, somewhere along the way, decided that he was going to sue Hillary Clinton and 30 other defendants, including Andrew McCabe, who was the guy he fired one day before his retirement pension kicked in.
Right.
For allegedly conspiring against him in the 2016 election with that whole Trump-Russia thing and the dossier and all that kind of stuff. The judge ruled in that case, this is a quote, "This case never should have been brought. Its inadequacy as a legal claim was evident from the start. No reasonable lawyer would have filed it. Intended for a political purpose, none of the counts of the complaint state a cognizable legal claim." I love legal speak because it is so bitchy and it sounds so classy. So that was Judge Middlebrooks who said that. And then he invited all 30 of the defendants to file for sanctions. The lawsuit was dismissed without prejudice. And it seems that he has been charged $937,000 in initial penalties that he needs to pay to Hillary Clinton and the 30 other defendants for the frivolous lawsuit. Now, here's the kicker. He had already lost on this type of lawsuit, being fined $50,000 plus legal fees of about $22,000. And on the day after he was sanctioned for that one is when he filed this one, for which he got charged $937,000, and 30 individual defendants are all being invited by the judge to file for personal sanctions for their personal legal fees, I would guess. So that's not going very well for him. And then another person who might be having a very rough ride soon is Supreme Court Justice Brent I Like Beer, Let's Boof Kavanaugh. At the Sundance film... I like beer. I like beer a lot.
Probably drink too much of it.
In fact, I got an IV of beer going through my vein right now.
I'll get you my vein!
Barney. So it seems that at the Sundance Film Festival, there was a film added to the schedule at the very, very, very last minute, as in like the night before it aired. And it's a film called Justice. And the film called Justice is a documentary about Brett Kavanaugh and about the 4,500 tips that came into the FBI line when he was having his job interview, I guess you could call it, to become a Supreme Court justice. It seems that the announcement of the film coming out made it such that some of the 4,500, the people who left some of those 4,500 tips started contacting the film team to talk about their tips.
Interesting.
Now, those tips, you have to understand, this is a Civics 101. In this case, the FBI was not doing a criminal investigation. It was doing a background check at the request of a client, and the client was the White House. So when they got the 4,500 tips, all they did was collate all of that, bring it to the White House, and say, here's the product you asked for. You decide what you're going to do with it. So the FBI, even if there was something in those tips that indicated that there was some type of crime, it was not their job to investigate it. It was just their job as a background check to give the information that they got to the client who asked for it, and then the client decides what it is that they're going to do with it. So it seems that among those tips, there was a message left by a former classmate at Yale of Kavanaugh, who states that one of his accusers at Yale, a lady whose last name is Ramirez, that whole thing about the penis being waved in her face type thing. Well, he left a message on the FBI's tip line, a guy named Max Steyer, who attended Yale with Kavanaugh and Ramirez, in which he says that not only did classmates tell him the story about Kavanaugh putting his penis in Ramirez's face, but that afterwards, Kavanaugh went to the bathroom to fluff himself for performance so that he could assault her again before an audience of mutual friends.
Of course he would.
And apparently Ramirez was so out of sorts or drunk or tried to suppress it that she did not recall the second incident herself. So it's worse than even she remembers. It also cites another incident, yes, involving a different woman because, of course, there's always a pattern and a trail of victims with these types of people, that he had witnessed firsthand. A severely inebriated Kavanaugh had his doormate pull his pants down as a group of soccer players held a drunk female freshman down and forced her to hold his penis. She also does not remember that incident. And she does not want to go public after seeing how the Republicans treated Christine Blasey Ford. That whole thing about allowing her to testify was an intimidation tactic, right? They treated her terribly to send a message to all the other women who might come out saying, this is what we've got in store for you if you talk.
Yeah, that's all it was. That's all it was. It was a shakedown. Not a shakedown, but a intimidation tactic.
Mm-hmm. So, I have a feeling that that film is going to become very, very popular, and many, many, many questions are going to be asked of this justice. If there's one of the 9 of them that's going to be impeached first somewhere along the way,
yeah,
it gonna be he.
Oh, yeah.
It's gonna be he. So, kids, I thought I would leave you with some
positive,
hopeful,
before
going to the weekend, that there might be some consequences coming. I like to help. So there you go, kids. We hope that you enjoyed this episode of the Daily Beaver podcast because we loved making it for you. Thank you, Kit Leanne, who says, thank you for a wonderful morning, boys. I don't know why I like it when they call us the boys. I don't know, it just makes me happy. I don't know, maybe it's because I've never been one of the boys.
Oh, well, I guess.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm not insulted by it. I like it whatsoever. I like it. Yes. As far as I'm concerned, you can keep on calling me the boys.
Well, I have a joyful boyful approach to life. Is that a thing? I don't know.
Why not?
I'm 19 with 35 years experience. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I like that word, boyful.
There you go. Run with it.
It's now a thing. We've made it a thing. There you go. Remember that sharing is caring and word of mouth is priceless. So let all the people in your circle know that we exist because you are probably the smartest person in your circle because you're on the show. So let everybody know what it is that they should be listening to. Oh, maybe a boyful is a grouping. You know, like a murder of crows or whatnot.
That would be two L's, though. 2 L's. There's a boyful with 2 L's and boyful with 1 L, which is joyful boy. A joyful boy.
Yes. There we go. Because democracy is something that you do. Today is the last day. It is the 10th to let the federal government know, or your provincial governments know, what it is that you think and what your priorities are with regard to the budget. The public budget consultation process is going on at the moment. For the federal and for Ontario, at least for sure, I know that today is the last day to get your opinions in. Might be the same for other provinces and territories. So roll up your sleeves, put some pen to paper or some, keyboard to bandwidth, and let the federal government know what your priorities are. And while you're at it, as I mentioned before, think a little broader of yourself and think of some things that could be some priorities for the government for people who are not you and people who need. Right?
Yeah.
Put yourself in their shoes for a little bit and make some requests on their behalf too. If you really like this podcast, you can find us on the Crier Media Network as well as all Beaver Grizzly friendly platforms. And if you are not a Beaver Grizzly friendly platform yet, why the heck not? Stars and reviews are appreciated. So if you're listening to us on Apple or Google or any place that allows you to give us stars or a review, please do so.
Other way.
Well, I'm pointing the same way where your finger is.
No, it's because you're on the opposite side. You have to point the opposite direction. There you go.
Okay.
You're
just doing what you do.
I know, but what I'm doing is my finger is directly over the subscribe button.
Ah, gotcha.
So the subscribe button is to your far anyway.
This is why I would never serve. This is why I would never survive a cult. I'm very suggestible. Anyway, and very easily confused. We love to hear from you. So reach us on our Facebook page, True North Eager Beaver at Facebook, on our Twitter feed at True Eager, by email at truenortheagerbeaver@gmail.com, or you can subscribe to us at our pod page, podpage.com/the True North Eager Beaver with a hyphen between each of those words, and we will come to you when we have something fresh off the bandwidth and right into your inbox. I said inbox today. Not just right into your box.
Yes, you did.
I was polite today. Why not also subscribe to our True North Eager Beaver YouTube channel? That helps us out big time, big time, big time, big time. Ooh, how did you get down there?
Well, there's an ad camera feature that finally is working, so I've got...
Oh, wonderful. Okay, wow.
I got two cameras that follow me now.
Wow, that's a lot of Grizzly to take in at once. I'm not sure I'm ready.
But it works. They installed this a while ago, but I could never get it to work, and now it's finally working, so I'm very happy.
I don't think I'm ready for your Grizzly. I don't think I'm ready for your Grizzly. I don't think I'm ready for your Grizzly. Body's so Grizzly-licious for you, babe. That's as close to Beyonce as I'm going to probably get. So yes, our YouTube, True North Eager Beaver Media YouTube, Incorporated YouTube media site. Please subscribe to there. We need at least 1,000. We're at about 15% of the way, and we've had a 15% increase in YouTube subscribers over the last month. So thank you very much, kids.
We'll take that.
We'll take that. We can't do this without your kind and generous support. So if you feel we've done a particularly good show, please deliver a mug of coffee for Mr. Grizzly here. Or if you're doing it a little later in the day, then a pint of Guinness, because the workday will be over and the weekend will be started. Or a cup of hot chocolate for yours truly. And you can find our tip page, our tip jar, at our coffee page. That's coffee, ko-fi.com/eagerbeaver, all in one word. That's coffee, ko-fi.com/eagerbeaver, all in one word. Double Grizzly, double the trouble, indeed. Or double Grizzly goodness. Yep. Queen Bee and Queen Beaver, yes, please. You know what? That's something I'm down for. I'll do a duet.
You think you can get Beyonce to pay attention to us? Somehow, I doubt it.
Hey, JZ.
She's pretty busy.
JZ, if you're listening,
what's up, bro?
He's
JZ,
got time.
Come on.
She's busy, but he's got time. JZ.
Cue it up, brother. Cue it up.
If you're hearing me, can you make that happen? It's like I don't have like you know what? If she wants all the time and she wants all the limelight and she's willing to just give me like 4 words in the entire duet, I'll be happy singing just 4 words. I just just want to breathe the same air.
Well,
really?
I can't. I'm not a singer, so I'll just walk in and go, ladies and gentlemen, Beyonce and the Beaver.
Oh, do a duet with yourself and Randy Rainbow. That's another thing. I love that, man.
We got to get you a green screen.
Yeah, that has more chances of actually happening, probably. Although Randy Rainbow was hosting the Grammys pre-show this year, so
good for him.
But see, there you go again. Someone, right, who was just doing something for fun at home,
in
got
his apartment,
recognition, and all of a sudden, he's like nominated for Emmy Awards for stuff, and now co-hosting Grammys. Like you don't know. The lady who did the Daily Bean started that in her living room, and now she's being invited to the White House 5 years later.
Yeah.
You never know.
It's stuff happens.
Hey, I'm holding hope for my Senate seat, or at least an appearance on Power and Politics once.
I just want to join the middle class. I'm not asking for much. I'm really not asking for much.
And finally, if you love our merch, we got some for you. We've got the quality Eager Beaver and Mr. Grizzly merch that you love and want and need and just can't stop thinking about. Mr. Grizzly Civics tees and Eager Beaver tees, Pride, Halloween, Christmas. We've got you covered all occasions.
I should order a t-shirt.
We've got you. Me too. I thought of that. We haven't ordered.
I should probably order a t-shirt.
I figured me too, because I should probably have a closet full and be just wearing that every day if I was
a different one each
branding,
day.
Right? Yes.
It's one of those things. It's like we remember to tell everybody, but when I get off the show, I forget to order the damn thing.
We're not exactly leading by example here, are we?
No, we got to get the product.
Kids, buy our shirts. We won't, but please, you do. Buy our shirts. You look smart and sexy. We wouldn't be caught dead.
Here's the thing: we don't get them for free. We have to pay for them too. We don't even get a discount.
Yes.
We have to pay full price,
and we don't even get a discount.
We have to pay full price.
St. Patty's and Easter's is coming up too, Pete. If you happen to have some free time and have some ideas. Mr. Beaver with some bunny ears. If you want some of our merch, we have them in sizes small to 3XL at crier.co/crier-media-shop. That's where you go to get yourself some fabulous and to let everyone know that you are an engaged and informed citizen. And because we're all about the love, and our National Love Fest is coming in 4 days.
Oh, that silly greeting card thing, right?
Yeah. That silly greeting card thing. Oh, I'm a big, soft, bushy romantic. You know that. I'm in love. I'm in love. I'm in love with my Beaver sweetie. I love Valentine's Day. It's not like I need a day to let him know how much I love him, but
even when I was in love and in a relationship, every woman I've ever dated for the last 25 years, I'm like, do not expect a damn thing on Valentine's Day. And they're like, I said that just to make sure they understood. And here's the thing. They're like, oh, I'm right there with you. Like we were obviously on the same plane. It's like, come on, what are you going to say? I've taken you out the last 4 Saturdays in a row and treated you like the queen that you are. And now I'm expected to do it again because it's a date on a calendar? No. That's my cynicism, I guess, coming out.
Well, for me, who is not a cynic when it comes to love, wearing our Eager Beaver merch has been shown to boost your romantic energy by 18.4%.
Well,
get yourself some sexy. You need it. From the Beaver Lodge, this is your Eager Beaver saying, until next time, dear kids, it can be a tough world out there, so be kind to and gentle with yourself. Okay, Mr. Cynical Grizz, give us some wisdom. Maybe some love wisdom.
If you want to tell somebody you love them, just do it right now. Don't hold out until a silly date on the calendar. Make sure you know that your person, whomever that may be, that you love them, that you tell them right now, today. Don't hesitate. Don't wait. Tomorrow could be too late. That was not an intentional rhyme. It just worked out that way.
And hey, while we're at it, maybe why not order some Peace by Chocolate?
There you go. I did put the link in there. I did put the link in the chat earlier. You might have to scroll through to find it, but it's in there. Yeah,
I just saw like two saucy going, all we want is chocolate. Leanne going, chocolate. So women after my own heart. I could dip
myself in chocolate. Would that work?
Chocolate, here I am. They want chocolate. Mr. Grizzly, roll them credits. I'm getting silly.
Well, I'm gonna run the proper credits this time, not the audio, but the full one. So let's just say bid you adieu, and we will see you very soon. Take care, everyone. Oh, Pubcast is the 18th of February.
Yes.
Next Saturday. Not this Saturday, that following Saturday.
All right.
Bye.
You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Miss V Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters. CanadianTarot.com, your uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community and forum, and The Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from fresh farm ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind.